I decided from that day forward, if I ever got my together, Kenny would never beat me again, ever. Dude, that's unacceptable. Like, I'm on a factory team. I'm on the best team. You know, like, that's not what you do. You need to get your together and turn around, and you need to go do something this weekend. And just so happened that was that Triple Crown in 19 where I ran with Kenny and, you know, passed him with the last lap, and there was the Pistols, and that was my first win, and went on a tear from there. Like, and that's just how a flip of a switch it happened. And
yeah,
it doesn't happen like that a lot of the times. But man, I look back and go, man, that was an unbelievable year. It really was.
How much of the rivalry with Kenny, like, because there's personal stuff there. I feel like it's pretty well done now. Like, I feel like we don't really see much of it come out these days. But I think that was like I feel like it was almost, I'm trying to figure out like the way to say it. It was almost like he was just in the firing line in a sense, because it's like you guys had this personal history that you had, and then there was like a run-in that you guys had on like Yamaha, Honda, like that kind of deal that you had. And then it was almost like you needed to have this turning point in your career. And he was a guy that was doing well, and it almost seemed like there was extra motivation on top to beat him. And it was like you kind of used that as fuel, and maybe it come across like it was a lot more personal than it was, because it's like nowadays it's like done, but it was like in that moment, needing to win, needing to turn your career around, probably feeling like you needed to like turn your life around in a sense. It seemed like he was just in the firing line. Like there was like the perfect storm where he just copped like the full fury of Cooper Webb.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was both. Like, it was pretty personal, in the sense of like, we obviously, you know, like you said, had some run-ins and some stuff happen in our lives and whatever, but I took it very personal, and this is something I've never shared, and so you heard it here first on Gypsy Tales, but it was 2017. He had his, you know, gnarly crash, was banged up, and no one knew if he was going to race again, and it was a really scary time. And I think that's the other thing, that I have tremendous amount of respect for Kenny and what he's done and what he still continues to do, and even come back from that crash. And
100%.
Like you said, I think it was a little bit of like bad timing that me and him were rivals and we were both going for the championship. That's just how it worked out. But what kind of started it all for me was 2017, like I said. It was like midway through the summer, and I think he had kind of made the decision to come back to racing, and was going to come back for the 2018 season, and I was getting smoked. Like, it is what it is. And I remember on Instagram, he's an icon, right? And he'd have all these comments, and someone just randomly put on his, you know, I think it was a random post, like, hey, when do you think Webb will find his speed on the 450? And I mean, he had like 7,000 comments, and he replied to one person, and it was that person, and he said, never, he's shit. So I decided from that day forward, if I ever got my shit together, Kenny would never beat me again, ever. And that's why I race him the way I race him.
Dude, I mean, I had no idea that it came down to that one comment. Man, that, like, all right, let's backtrack an hour ago into this conversation. When you say that shit talking can go super wrong, that's like one example of poking the bear and making the wrong bear pissed off.
Yeah, no, so that's where, like I said, there was a lot of other things, but that was like, I don't know, like it just was one of those things. Like, dude, I was friends with Kenny, and you know, I never felt like I did anything, and it was just like, and I'm sure, unfortunately, like when you're injured and you're sidelined and whatever, you do have some bitter thoughts, and I'm sure he honestly meant nothing by it, or probably doesn't even remember it, but for whatever reason, that was just the one thing that stuck in my head I thought about it for 2 years, and so when I put myself in a position to battle with him again and race him and beat him at that first, you know, Triple Crown, it was like, it was on. From that day forward, like, I knew I could beat him, and like I said, in my mind, he was never going to beat me again, and if I could have anything to do with it, you know? Yeah. So, like you said, you're I don't know, it doesn't work that way for everyone, but that was just something that for me stuck with me. That was like, you know what? I'm going to, at all costs, if I'm ever in a position to actually beat Ken Roczen, once I do it, it's on. Like, it is literally on. So, and like I said, now I feel like we've kind of gotten over that. And like I said, I have a huge amount of respect for him. And, you know, I'd say hello and greet him every time I can. And he's a good dude. It's just, like you said, unfortunately, maybe I just am messed up in the head. And that's what I had to go to have that success. And it was tough because, I mean, he's by far the fan favorite. I mean, I definitely got throughout our battles some hate mail and some death threats and whatever, but you just shrug that stuff off and go for gold.
You just bodied him so many times too. Like, it was brutal to watch, bro. Like, I mean, I know both you guys, and like, I definitely made it a point to just like never talk about any of like the actual personal shit, because it just, but we don't like, we just don't need it, you know. I think that there's like other stories to follow, but like in my head, I thought it was way more personal than an Instagram comment.
No, like, that's it. Like, that's literally it.
I love it.
And so yeah, I mean, like I said, but that's what like I feed off of, and
yeah.
I need a, like we talked about earlier, I need a reason to bust my ass. Obviously I have plenty of reasons, but like, you give me a cherry on top, or you give me just that added 10%, and that's where I tap into that area of focus, or whatever you want to call it, that I get the absolute most out of myself.
Dude, what was it like to just go through like that 29 season, especially? Like, you must have just felt like a fucking king too. Like, cause you were just bodying Kenny like on so many occasions. It felt unfair. It
was, I mean, it didn't happen all the time, you know, but it was something where, like I said, I knew, and I think it's like you said, once it happened once or twice, it was like, it was almost a pattern. And I think it's almost similar to like what's happening now or whatever, like you can say with Chase, but it happened to where like, it was almost like a sense of, he knew I was coming no matter what. Yeah. And
didn't matter where you were.
Yeah. Whether it was what the circumstances were, for sure. And I think there's a lot of pressure in that, and a lot of like, for him wanting to not have that happen so bad that it ends up happening, if that makes sense, you know? 100%. And if it's like, if it was Eli, he's not even thinking about it, but because it was me and because it had happened, or maybe it was our rivalry or whatever, it was like, oh shit type deal. And that's what I believe, and maybe he would think differently, but I just knew, like, and like I said, I was willing to, I'd have a heart attack or puke in my helmet physically to make it happen. I didn't care. And I think that was maybe the difference of why it happened more so than not.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang.